We're live. Good morning. Welcome to Lady Catherine Live with co-host Callie. I am Lady Catherine and I will be your host today. Welcome, Callie.
Hi, Lady Catherine. Great to be here.
It's great to have you here. I love it when you're here to share your experience, strength, and hope with our listeners. And today you're actually going to be offering some free readings if anyone is interested in receiving some guidance from you. I chose the topic change because I drew a goddess oracle card for myself. Actually, I do it daily, and today's card was Maeve, Cycles and Rhythms. And her message was, all of life is a cycle, the moon, the stars, and the very universe. Life inhales, then exhales again. So why should you be surprised or upset that you too have cycles? There are times when you feel energized, awake, and alive. There are times when you feel isolated and shy. Your body too goes through pronounced cycles and changes. Celebrate those rhythms and embrace them as the essence of lifeblood that courses through you. And it's so true that life is all about cycles and change. And the stronger we are inwardly, the easier it is to handle the ever-changing world in which we live. Change comes in the most unexpected ways and days. We can be on top of the world one moment, and just with an unexpected event can be crippled. I decided that we would discuss ways to help during change, whether it be a relationship, passing of a loved one, job change, home change, whatever it is, we all face it. And Callie, I guess what I'm going to ask you is, what are some of the tools that you use in dealing with change?
Well, I haven't always been great with change. That'll hold you back if you're not open to it. Even if it's, used to it would be, we're always open to good changes. But now if you put your trust and you're surrendering to a higher power and the universe, you have to be open to any kind of change that is necessary to move you to where you need to be. And I haven't always been great with change, but when I lost my father suddenly back in 2010, I had to embrace change and I had to face it head on. And really, and this is usually my advice on any subject, knowing that if it's not good change and you're in the mind, in our human eyes and what we're seeing in our circumstances, we have to accept that it's not going to feel good and just not expect it to feel any different for a while until we get to where we need to be. And I think that's a defense mechanism I've used just to sort of keep myself sane.
Yes.
But, you have faith in the future, but until it's here, accept that you have to make each day count. You have to make each moment count still. You can't quit, being a mom or an aunt or a cousin or a sister. You have to still pour into your relationships and be you, but you don't have to expect that things are going to be fixed right away, and that brings peace for me anyway.
Yes, me too. Letting go of the one thing that I can't control is the pain, going with it, staying with it, and finding ways out of it.
Yes.
It's interesting that you said that about your father passing. When my sister passed 11 years ago, it was very unexpected, and I was in intense pain, and when we went to the funeral, it was standing room only, and someone said to me, out of all the things that were offered to me and all the people that were trying to console the family, one person said something that resonated, and it was, it will never stop hurting, but it will become different. And that was the only thing that I grabbed hold on to, that I could hold on to that particular day, was that it would become different, and that those words resonated throughout my grieving process. It will become different, and that's really what got me through. And so when I'm facing anything traumatic today or change that is unexpected, and I certainly didn't ask for it and didn't want it, I still hang on to those words. It will become different.
Yes.
And finding humor also. If I can just find something to laugh about during change, it helps immensely.
Yes. Humor, finding joy in the small things, all of that is so important when facing any kind of change or heartache. And then, and then that's the same thing if you're facing good change. Same, rules apply, Can you hear me?
Yes, I can absolutely.
I don't know if I was, my sound had gone out.
No.
Any type of change, I think you can face it with the same principles, which is, overcoming that voice in your head that tells you you're not going to make it, when you are. We can get through anything. It's amazing what the human spirit can go through.
It is.
I always think of people who were, like, in concentration camps or who have faced things that we'll never face, and how they some of them got through it and lived lives afterwards, and our kids and orphans that have been through everything over in Africa. I mean, we're so resilient. Our spirits are.
We are.
So we can literally face anything. So
it's just very difficult when we're in it to realize that we're going to get to the other side of it. And the way we get there can be easier for us if we just embrace the pain, go with it, find humor in it, find gratitude in it in some way. You were speaking of Nazi camps. Viktor Frankl, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was in one of the camps, and he returned home after 3 horrific years. And he discovered that his mother, brother, wife, and unborn child were all dead. Everything in his life had changed. All that he loved was lost. But as fall became winter and winter gave way to spring, Frankie began to discover that even though he could never go back to the life he once had, he was still free to meet new friends, find new love, become a father again, work with new patients, enjoy music, read books. Frankie called his hope in the face of despair tragic optimism. Frankie's story is an extreme example, of course, but that's all the more reason why we should find inspiration from it. If we fixate on the limitations of a specific change, we inevitably succumb to worry, bitterness, and despair. And that's really what we want to avoid when we're going through change, at least for me.
Yes, it changes our energy, too. It can actually change our outcome if we don't try to rein that in a little bit. The fear, the worry. I mean, obviously we're going to worry, but,
that's
there's different levels of it.
That's being very human.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I went blank for a moment.
Well, no, with the Nazi concentration camp, I always think about stuff like that. And I think about, my brother was a missionary in Sudan, Africa, and some of the things that these children, the orphans that they rescued, had been through, with the raids on their camps and the rapes and just all kinds of stuff, and they were happy.
Yeah.
When they found happiness after that, they made it. Some of the craziest atrocities I've ever heard of go on every day, and people end up making it. So that's what I always think if I'm going through something, something that is huge to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think about those people who have literally their spirits have been through a grinder.
Yes.
In ways that we'll never, ever, thank God, have to deal with. And if they can make it, we can too.
That's absolutely.
There's something that they have that we have to possess, and that's optimism, and that's faith, and that's not losing hope, and that's just, that childlike, ability. You have to have that childlike faith that you're going to turn the corner. You're eventually going to be okay, because there's some really hard stuff that happens to people.
And they come out beautifully.
Yes, and then, when it's over, you don't even really remember it, the pain as much. You know what I mean? It'll be okay at some point. I guess that's the lesson is it will always be okay.
Yes.
At some point.
It will always be okay at some point, and it's the most difficult. It's really, really hard when we're going through it.
Yes.
But if
you're going through something right now and you're listening, I mean, that sounds real easy, but for us to say, but you will be okay. Eventually embrace, your strengths, and embrace that childlike faith, and know that no matter what happens to you, you're going to come out on top.
That's Absolutely right. Callie, do you have any story that you can share with us of when you had nothing but faith to stand on?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Is there anything that's ever happened in your life where you had nothing but faith to lead you?
Yes, I mean, and that, I'll say two things. When I was leaving a very high-profile position in Los Angeles with my career, I just remember having to shut my eyes and jump, and it was miraculous to see God's hand move. It was one of the hardest times that I've ever had. But my dad he was still alive at that time, and he'd be like, Allison, open your eyes and just see God's hand moving. And I started to do that, and his hand moved every day. And if I had been in a great place and when I was on top, I didn't see that hand. I did see it in the valley, though. When I was in the valley, I would see the hand. I would be moved. I would, my complete trust was in someone I could not see, something I could not see or touch or, really even hear. And then, of course, when Dad passed like that, you do see that, God is sovereign, or, whatever is, it's everything is going to happen according to a plan.
Yes.
And we can't, I've never felt so out, I'm sure you can relate with your sister, so out of control. And it taught me that I am not in control. I mean, there are some things I can control in my life, but I am not always in control of these big things.
Me neither. Absolutely not. And that's where I have to grab hold of faith when the big things happen. And I've had just some tremendous experiences where I had nothing but faith. That's all I had. Or it was going to be the end. So, I just grabbed hold of faith, and that's all I could do. I had a Marine show up in Italy when I don't even want to go into the story, but let's just say that I was there all alone in Italy, had been robbed, was on the streets, nothing. I had absolutely nothing, and I didn't speak the language, and in the area where I was in, no one would call the police for me, and lo and behold, an American Marine showed up. It was just an uncanny story. And by the grace of God, I was able to get to the consulate and get out of there. But had he not shown up, and it's just a Marine of all people, it was amazing, just amazing. And for the longest time, I thought he didn't exist. He must have been an angel, but he does. He exists.
Yeah, I was going to say he could have been. I believe it.
But you're going through a little bit of change right now yourself. It's not really quite where you want it to be, but it's changing. No. How are you dealing with it, coping with it?
Well, I'm in a twin flame situation, and I'm finding that I've only thought I was in control all this time, and that is ego, and I am learning that I am not. I'm only in control of my own spiritual growth, of my own healing, and in return, I think that heals others. But I think the biggest realization is, you think in those types of situations that you are in control. I mean, it's different than losing a relative or a friend. If you're going through something like that, you think you're in control because you're making a choice to do it or not do it. And I have learned recently that I am not in control of anything, and but my own healing and my own progression on a spiritual path. And so that is a huge lesson for me, because I thought, all this time I've been just doing great as far as, growing spiritually and all of that, when my ego was still at play, thinking I was in control of everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's really teaching me to trust in my own abilities, in my own heart, to trust even when you realize you have no control over anyone.
No.
So I think that is where I'm at this week, is not only discovering I'm not in control of these interpersonal relationships, but also that I'm relinquishing it, any idea and any fantasy that I ever was. So
I think for me that was the most difficult part of the twin flame process, was letting go of outcome and expectations.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I really surrendered to the truth that I was responsible for my own soul, my own part of union. I could not expect my twin to be on a white horse coming in to rescue me. That was not his role in my life. My role was to evolve, to heal,
Yes.
to heal my past lives, my past soul lives, even in this lifetime, everything had to heal. And I could not depend on him to rescue me or to be any more than what he is. And that's when everything began to align for us, is when I really surrendered and just healed. And stopped, and I stopped doing the things that I thought would bring me what I wanted from him. I just stopped and got out of the way, got completely out of the way, and just allowed God to work.
And when you think you're in control, like that, it kind of it deceives you a little bit.
Yes, it does.
It deceives everyone. And so I think the best example we can be for another person is to give up control and kind of model that surrender.
Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult to do.
Yes, it is. I will second that.
I will too. And speaking of change, are you really letting go of outcome?
About the twin flame thing?
Yes.
Yes, I have to. I have realized that me thinking I was in control and leaning on that as that's where my faith had grown from. It was my control. And freaking out at every little turn because I felt like that was control. Having fear was, in a way, a sick way, a form of control for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's making me sick. And I realized I have put shackles on myself. I have put myself in a cell.
Yes.
And it's because I had this illusion. And it, like I said, it was my ego. It was fear, any emotion that would come up that would allow me to stew and to try to manipulate. All of that those were my masters.
Oh, yes.
And I
Mine
don't
too.
want to be my master anymore.
No.
Because it's not fulfilling. And I'm telling you, if you're in one of these situations, the more you manipulate, the more you try to make changes yourself, the more you try to be fearful and control it, it's temporary.
It is.
You won't get permanent results because it's warming, like you've always said, Lady Catherine's always said, it's just warming them up temporarily.
Temporarily. That's right.
It's not permanent, but if you make a permanent and lasting stand in your own faith and you really examine, x-ray yourself for where your faith is actually coming from, because mine, I have realized, was not coming from the right place. And a lot of, when things were good, it was coming from the right place, I guess. But if things took a bad turn, my faith wasn't coming from the right place. It was coming from me and my own strength. And I'm telling you, you'll fail every time if you depend on yourself.
Yes, exactly. Well, what I was doing, I was putting my twin in a position that made him or elevated him to a higher level than myself. So therefore, I was not taking care of me. I was doing everything to ensure that the outcome of us reaching alignment would happen, and I was forgetting the whole entire purpose of us being twin flames to begin with. I had to step back, step away, forget outcome, and just be and heal. And whatever happened would happen. When I surrendered to control and I surrendered to outcome, and I guess the day that I let go, within a week, we started to align. But it took me letting go to do it. And I really had to let go, not just say it, not just want it, but I had to do it. And it takes...
holding on like that is a form of self, a form of ego, and it's a form of I know for me, it was a form of selfishness because
Yes.
I didn't really care where the other person was.
No, me neither.
It was where I was. And,
Yes.
and as humans, we have this timeline, we have this this pattern that we think everything should follow and go.
Yes.
And then we're so devastated. It's called expectations. Oh, another thing. I don't know why this just popped up, but I feel like I'm supposed to share it. If you're going through some type of twin flame or some type of, any type of relationship, get rid of your expectations, because that will fuel your fear, that will fuel your control issues, it will fuel the process
Yes.
in a negative way. Because like with my twin, I will actually send a message, and it's not even out of the right intentions. It's like trying to get attention, and he'll respond in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Yes.
And it will send me into a frenzy for days. I've lost days of weeks and months of my life because of this. And I don't know if anyone else who's listening or you, Lady Catherine, have noticed, but time is flying at a much rapid pace.
Yes, it is.
To.
Yes.
And we're wasting our own time by these expectations, by these fears, by these ruts that we get ourselves in, all based on our own egos and self.
That's true.
Our own emotions, and I'm almost found myself, we talked in a podcast a while back about endorphins and hormones,
Yes.
That come. I have realized that I have been addicted to dopamine highs that come from not having contact, having contact,
Yes.
not having contact, desperate for what I want.
Yes.
It's like crack. It's like a drug addict.
It is.
And then once it happens, I'm not texting him back.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The purity of what this situation means and what it is loses its whole meaning when we let ourselves get there. And that's me vibrating at a low frequency when I'm like that.
Yes.
We all do it.
We all do it. We all do it. We don't want to do it. We don't want to be walking in a low energy vibration. I don't think any of us really want to be there. And that's a struggle too, to come out of that and to stop manifesting that lower level vibration, stop walking in it, stop behaving in it, and start reaching for the higher things, and then it becomes a part of you.
What's the worst that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is that, somehow what I thought my destiny was is wrong, and I promise anything God or the universe has for us is way better than what we can ever plan out for ourselves.
Oh, that's so true.
You know that Beatles song, Let It Be? Let's just let it be.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, but sometimes it's the biggest fires in your life that teach you the most. And just, I think if we're always a student of that, and we don't ever lose that, ability to learn from things.
That's right.
They can actually be the most important things in our life, because we're evolving spiritually, we're maturing.
Yes.
You never know who you can help. I mean, Lady Catherine's experiences have helped me immensely, and I hope too that my experiences will help someone. I mean, just pay it forward. Some of the people I admire the most have been through the worst stuff.
Oh, yes. Well, just like my favorite gospel song is Amazing Grace, and I can't, his name slips me right now, the gentleman that wrote the song, but he was a slave, had gone through horrendous torture, torment, and that song was born. His whole spirit was changed, and yet it is in the fire where we do the changing. I really believe that.
The valley, the fire, it is just, that is what it's about. And when we're in the valley, we have so much more faith.
Yes.
Know what I mean? Really,
that's when we really, really call on it.
And I mean, we need to get to where we can call on the Lord or the higher power or the universe.
Yes.
Anytime.
Yes.
Even when things are good, my dad always was singing and full of joy and thinking.
Yes.
He thanked God for everything. Even when he was, my brother got in a lot of trouble when he was younger, and it was looking really bad for him. And my dad would just be singing, and I'd hear him say, thank you, and just praising.
Yes.
And that got him through, and I firmly believe that things would have turned out differently for my brother if my dad hadn't have adopted that faith.
That's beautiful.
And that positivity.
That's
and my
beautiful.
dad would be crying when he would do it. I mean, it wasn't something he wanted to do or something he felt, but he said if you say it enough and you practice it enough, it will be.
Well, what we be, we become. And if we just wake up with this is who I want to be today and start acting that way, pretty soon you become that person.
Exactly.
You really do.
And you become that soldier
who
can literally fight any battle. And not that it's going to feel good or be easy, but I want everyone to just, take, what I do a lot is take a deep breath and really think that, look at your circumstances that you're in and really kind of brainstorm, what are all the things that I've learned from this so far?
Yes.
Because, and at some point you might be like, nothing, this sucks. But you will see that the list grows.
It does grow.
Even years after the incident or years after the turmoil, the list will grow.
Okay, in closing the show, Callie, I really want to thank you for all of your input. It was amazing, wonderful advice, and I think you did offer some tools that hopefully the listeners can grab. And the one thing that I want to say is that anyone who is out there struggling through change, the change is going to happen, but you can get through it easier if you find gratitude in it. Just find the gratitude and take some of these tools along with you.
Find that child in you who literally believes, before all of the things of the world hurt you, even if you started getting hurt as a child, find that child.
Yes.
That, meditate on it. Actually go back and find that child you were, that innocent child who would pray for a pony to be outside. I mean, I used to do that. And I would look at the morning. That's how we need to be now.
That's right.
Know that we're not in control.
No.
Literally, anything could happen to me today.
Yes.
My dad didn't plan. Your sister didn't plan.
No.
People don't plan to not be here.
No, they don't.
Most of the time.
No.
So anything could happen to us. And you know what? We're women. We're strong.
Yes.
We can face it.
Yes,
and we can face it together. I suggest, if you're going through something that is really just feels like a tidal wave over you, find a mentor, find a spiritual advisor, whether it be, someone like Lady Catherine, your pastor, whoever. Find someone who's going to give you sound advice.
Absolutely. Someone that you resonate with and trust.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And you can find us at www.loveandlightwithmagicwinds.com. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Lady Catherine?
Yes.
I have one quote I want to share. I've been looking for it and I actually prayed.
Okay.
To find it.
Okay.
I have learned that the wilderness is part of the landscape of faith, and every bit as essential as the mountaintop.
Oh.
On the mountaintop, we are overwhelmed by God's presence. In the wilderness, we are overwhelmed by His absence. Both places should bring us to our knees, the one in utter awe, the other in utter dependence. And that is whoever you cry out to, whether it be God, the universe, any higher power that you look to. That is such a true statement. It's such a true quote. It was by Dave Draverly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Really good.
That's beautiful.
I just wanted to share that. I feel like that might help someone.
That is beautiful. If you will send that to me after the show, I will post it on.
Will you post it?
Yes,
Great.
I will post it on Lady Catherine.
Write it down, keep it with you. I believe that it's a good reminder that, and the wilderness is whatever you're going through. So
yes,
definitely.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I'll talk to you. Okay. Everyone have a wonderful day.